After we have understood the difference between GNP or gross national product and gross domestic product, now we want to move on to understand more about gross domestic product. Relatively, the gross domestic product is a much more important concept in the context of this course. So now we want to know what gross domestic product is. Gross domestic product is a measure of the income and expenditure of an economy. It is the total market values of all final goods and services produced within a country in a given time period. If you notice, there are various parts of the definition of gross domestic product that are important. The first one is the total market value, all final goods and services within a country and for a given time period. If you were to look at this, total market value of all final goods, what it means is that only the value of the final goods, excluding the intermediate goods, will be counted. Produced within a country, as I mentioned to you earlier, meaning the product is produced in a country regardless of who produces it, whether it's a foreign workers coming from Bangladesh or Myanmar or Vietnam, whatever they produce in this country are counted in the context of GDP. A period of time here refers to a specific period in which the accounting of the value, the total market value of all these final goods are taken into account. Normally, it is a one accounting year. For example, if we want to know what is the GDP for Malaysia in 2018, so we have to take into account whatever the total market value of all final goods and services produced within Malaysia for the period of the year 2018. What are the components of gross domestic product? So gross domestic product includes all items produced in the economy and sold legally in the market. Here we can see that any economic activities that are considered illegal will not be counted in the calculation of gross domestic product for a country. Examples of illegal economic activities, for example, drugs sold in the market, prostitution. These are all examples of economic activities that are considered illegal, and whatever values generated from these activities will not be counted. So it is important for you to understand GDP only includes legal economic activities producing product or services in the market. So, as I mentioned, what is not counted in GDP? It excludes items that are produced, consumed at home, for example, and that never enter the marketplace. Meaning, you plant the vegetable at home, for example, is for your own home consumption. That will not be included in GDP. Or item that was produced or sold illicitly, such as illegal drugs. So these are all examples of economic activities that are not included in the counting of the gross domestic product of a country. Up to this point, you are expected to understand what is the difference between GNP and GDP. And you are expected to understand also what is meant by GDP, and what activities are included in the counting of a GDP for an economy, and what activities are not included.